close your eyes and listen. You hear it, don't you? That soaring melody, that triumphant declaration of independence and self-acceptance. Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. You know exactly what comes next. You see Elsa, the misunderstood ice queen with platinum blonde hair and shimmering powers, building her palace of ice, embracing her magic, finally free from fear and shame. You see Anna, optimistic, quirky, determined, journeying to save her sister, to bring her home, to prove that love can thaw a frozen heart. Frozen. It became a cultural phenomenon in 2013. Children everywhere sang the songs. Adults quoted the lines. It won Oscars. It made billions of dollars. It's one of the most successful animated films ever made. And it's inspired by Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. But here's what you need to understand. Frozen and The Snow Queen have almost nothing in common. Disney didn't adapt Andersen's story. They borrowed a few names, a few concepts, and then created something entirely different. Something safer, something warmer, something that wouldn't give children nightmares. Because the original The Snow Queen, written in 1844, isn't about self-acceptance or sisterly love or learning to embrace your powers. It's about a boy who's infected by evil, who becomes cruel and cold without realizing it, who's kidnapped by an ice queen and brainwashed into forgetting everyone he loves. It's about a girl who walks barefoot across the world to save him, who bleeds and suffers and nearly dies multiple times, who finds him sitting in a palace of ice, blue with cold, solving an impossible puzzle, and he doesn't even remember her name. It's about how evil can infect someone you love, how coldness spreads like a disease, how sometimes the people we're trying to save don't want to be saved because they don't realize they need saving. Let me show you what Disney changed. In Frozen, Elsa and Anna are sisters. Elsa has ice powers she was born with. She accidentally hurts Anna and runs away out of fear and shame. Anna goes to find her and bring her home. True love, sisterly love, saves them both. In the original The Snow Queen, Kai and Gerda are neighbors and best friends, not siblings. Kai doesn't have ice powers. He's infected by shards from a demon's mirror that make him see only ugliness. The Snow Queen isn't misunderstood. She's genuinely dangerous, a creature of coldness who deliberately kidnaps children and steals their memories with her kisses. Gerda's journey isn't about understanding Elsa. It's about finding Kai before he freezes to death, both physically and emotionally. The stories are fundamentally different. In Frozen, Elsa is the protagonist. In The Snow Queen, she's the villain. In Frozen, the journey is about self-acceptance. In The Snow Queen, it's about devotion to the point of self-destruction. In Frozen, there's a happy ending where everyone reconciles and learns valuable lessons. In The Snow Queen, there's an ambiguous ending where the children return home but are forever changed by trauma they can't undo. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the complete original story. You'll discover a demon who creates a mirror that makes everything beautiful look ugly, and then shatters it into billions of pieces that fall into people's eyes and hearts, cursing them to see only the worst in everything. You'll meet the Snow Queen, not a scared girl hiding from her powers, but a beautiful, cold, deadly creature who kisses children into forgetting their own names. You'll follow Gerda through an enchanted garden where a witch tries to trap her in eternal summer, through a robber's castle where a violent girl with a knife becomes her unlikely ally, across frozen wastelands on the back of a talking reindeer, to a palace made entirely of ice at the top of the world. You'll see Kai sitting on a frozen lake, blue with cold, moving pieces of ice around, trying to spell a word he can't remember the meaning of, working on this puzzle forever, or until he dies, whichever comes first. You'll watch Gerda's hot tears melt the ice shard lodged in Kai's heart. You'll see him remember, suddenly, painfully, everything the Snow Queen made him forget. And you'll see them return home to discover that some things, once broken, can never be fully repaired. This is Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. 7 interconnected stories published in 1844. His longest, strangest, most psychologically complex fairy tale. Before we begin, if you believe the dark originals behind our sanitized adaptations deserve to be told, if you want to know what's really hiding beneath the Ice Palace and the happy songs, subscribe to the Midnight Archives and hit that like button. Because this story isn't about letting it go. It's about what happens when you can't let go, when you won't let go, when someone you love turns cold and cruel, and you have to decide, do you walk away or do you walk through winter to save them? Even if they don't remember you, even if they don't want to be saved, even if the journey destroys you. Welcome to the Midnight Archives. Hans Christian Andersen doesn't start his story with the children. He doesn't begin with once upon a time, or introduce his heroes, or set the scene in a cozy village. He starts with a demon and a mirror. This is unusual for a fairy tale. Most fairy tales want you to fall in love with the protagonists first, to care about them, so that when danger comes, you're invested in their survival. But Andersen wants you to understand something before you meet Kai and Gerda. He wants you to understand where the evil comes from, how it works, how it spreads. Because the horror of this story isn't a monster you can see. It's not a dragon or a witch or a villain with obvious evil intentions. It's a change in perspective. A shift in how you see the world, a corruption so subtle you don't realize it's happened until it's too late. So Andersen starts with the source. There was once a demon. Some translations call him a wicked troll, others call him an evil hobgoblin. Some call him the devil himself. Andersen is deliberately vague about what exactly he is. He's a force more than a character, a principle more than a person. What matters is this: he's a creature of mockery, of cruelty, of taking everything beautiful and showing how it's actually ugly, everything good and showing how it's actually stupid, everything loving and showing how it's actually weak. This demon runs a school for other demons, other wicked creatures, where he teaches them his philosophy. Look at the world, he tells them. Look at what fools these humans are. They believe in beauty, but everything decays. They believe in goodness, but everyone has selfish motives. They believe in love, but love makes you vulnerable. Love makes you weak. His students learn well. They learn to see the worst in everything, to find the flaw in every face, the hypocrisy in every kind act, the selfishness behind every generous gesture. They learn to mock, to sneer, to never be moved by anything, because being moved makes you a fool. And one day, the demon creates his masterpiece, a mirror, but not an ordinary mirror, a cursed mirror, a mirror with terrible power. When you look into this mirror, everything good becomes small and insignificant. Everything bad becomes magnified, more prominent, impossible to ignore. A beautiful landscape reflects as a wasteland. A kind person looks like a fool. Someone you love appears as a collection of flaws. Every imperfection highlighted, every mistake magnified, every weakness exposed. The mirror doesn't lie exactly. It just shows only the negative, only the worst, only what's wrong. If you look at a sunset in this mirror, you see only the dust in the air that makes the colors. If you look at a painting, you see only the brushstrokes that aren't quite perfect. If you look at a person's face, you see only the asymmetry, the blemishes, the signs of aging and decay. It's a curse of perspective. The demon is delighted with his creation. He shows it to his students and they laugh and clap and celebrate. Finally, a way to prove that everything is ugly, that beauty is a lie, that the humans are fools for believing in anything good. But the demon wants more. He wants to show that even heaven is ugly. Even God has flaws. Even paradise can be diminished by his mirror. It's the ultimate blasphemy, the ultimate mockery. And so he makes a plan. The demon and his students decide to fly to heaven itself. They'll carry the mirror up through the clouds, past the stars, all the way to the gates of paradise. And there they'll hold it up and show that even heaven, even God, looks ugly when reflected in their mirror. Nothing will survive contact with their creation. Nothing will remain beautiful or good or pure. It's the final proof that beauty is a lie. The demons gather. They lift the mirror, enormous, heavy, glittering with malice, and they begin to fly, higher and higher, through the clouds, past the moon, toward heaven. The demons are laughing, shrieking with joy. They're almost there, almost to paradise, almost to the moment when they can prove that everything is ugly. But the closer they get to heaven, the more the mirror begins to shake. It trembles in their hands, vibrates with increasing intensity, as if it's reacting to something, as if the sheer goodness of what they're approaching is too much for it. The demons struggle to hold on, try to keep flying, try to reach their destination. But the mirror is shaking harder now, violently, uncontrollably, and then it shatters. The explosion is tremendous. The mirror doesn't just crack, it explodes into millions of pieces, billions of pieces, countless shards of every size, from pieces as large as window panes to splinters as small as grains of sand. And all of them fall back to earth like deadly snow, like invisible rain, like a curse spreading across the entire world. Most of the pieces are tiny, microscopic. You can't see them with the naked eye. They're everywhere and nowhere, floating in the air, landing on surfaces, waiting. Some fall into people's eyes, and suddenly, without knowing why, those people start seeing everything differently. The roses that were beautiful yesterday look wilted and ugly today. The friend who was kind now seems foolish. The person you loved yesterday, today you can only see their flaws. You don't know you've been struck. You don't realize anything has changed. You think you're finally seeing clearly, finally seeing the truth, finally seeing things as they really are. But actually, you've been cursed. Some shards fall into people's hearts, and suddenly, without knowing why, they become cold, cruel, unable to feel empathy or love or warmth. They mock where they used to praise. They hurt where they used to comfort. They turn away from everyone they used to care about, and they don't know why. They think everyone else has changed. They think everyone else has become annoying or stupid or weak. They don't realize the change is in them. This is what makes the demon's mirror so terrible. A curse you can see, you can fight. A monster you can recognize, you can run from. But a curse that changes your perception, that makes you believe you're seeing truth when you're actually seeing lies. That's a curse you can't escape, because you don't know you're cursed. You think you've woken up. Hans Christian Andersen understood something profound about evil. It's not always a monster at the door. It's not always a villain twirling a mustache and announcing wicked plans. Sometimes evil is just a change in perspective. A shard in your eye that makes you see ugliness where there used to be beauty. A shard in your heart that makes you cold where you used to be warm. And the most terrifying part, the people who are struck don't know they're infected. They think they're finally seeing clearly. They think everyone else is blind. The demon and his students fall back to earth, laughing. Their mirror is destroyed, but its power is now everywhere. In every country, in every city, in every home, the shards are falling. Still falling, will always be falling, and somewhere, right now, in this moment, one lands in a boy's eye, in a boy named Kai. Now we meet our heroes, two children, best friends, practically family, though not related by blood. They live in neighboring apartments, tiny attic rooms at the top of old buildings in a European city. The text never tells us which city. Copenhagen, maybe, since Andersen was Danish. Or it could be anywhere. Every city has attics. Every city has children. The two buildings lean close together, the way old buildings do. Close enough that the children's windows almost face each other. There's a gap between them, a gutter that runs between the buildings. And in this gap, their families have done something wonderful. They've planted a garden, two wooden boxes, one extending from each window, meeting in the middle. And in these boxes grow rose trees, two of them, one from each family's window. In summer, the roses bloom, pink and red and white, filling the air with fragrance. The branches grow together, intertwining, creating a kind of tunnel of flowers between the two windows. The children play there, in their rose garden in the sky. The boy is named Kai. He's perhaps 8 or 9 years old enough to be curious about everything, young enough to still believe in magic. He's clever, always asking questions, always wanting to understand how things work. When his grandmother tells him stories, he always wants to know, is that true? Could that really happen? How does it work? He loves puzzles, loves patterns, loves the satisfaction of figuring something out, of making sense of chaos. His grandmother, who lives with his family in their tiny apartment, tells him stories every evening about birds and flowers and strange creatures, and about the Snow Queen. Is there really a Snow Queen? Kai asks. Oh, yes, grandmother says, rocking in her chair by the window. In winter, when the snow falls thick, she flies through the streets. Sometimes you can see her peering through frosted windows. She's looking for children. What does she want with children? To take them to her palace, to keep them forever in the ice. Kai is fascinated and frightened in equal measure. He loves being scared by stories, loves the thrill of imagining something dangerous that can't actually hurt him. At least he thinks it can't hurt him. The girl is named Gerda. She's about the same age as Kai, perhaps a year younger, though it's hard to tell. Where Kai is all questions and analysis, Gerda is all feeling and love. She doesn't need to understand how things work. She just accepts them, loves them, treasures them. She loves the roses, loves the garden, loves the summer evenings when she and Kai sit among the flowers and grandmother tells her stories. Most of all, she loves Kai. Not romantic love, their children. Just the pure, uncomplicated love of two people who've grown up together, who can't imagine life without each other, who are so intertwined that separating them would be like separating the two rose trees. When grandmother talks about the Snow Queen, Gerda doesn't ask questions about how it works or whether it's scientifically possible. She just says, "I'll never let her take you, Kai." Kai laughs. "She'd have to be very strong to take me. I'm not afraid of her." But Gerda is afraid. She feels something coming that she can't name. Something cold. Something that will change everything. She doesn't know why she feels this way. She just does. The two children are inseparable. Every day they play in the rose garden. In winter, when the roses are gone and snow covers everything, they press their faces to the warm stove to melt a peephole in the frost on the window, and they look out at each other across the gap. "Can you see me?" Kai calls. "I can see you," Gerda calls back. They wave, they make faces, they laugh. Their families are poor, but not desperately so. They have food, warmth, each other. They're content. It's a small world, a safe world, a world bounded by two tiny attic rooms and a rose garden between them. But the world is about to get much larger and much, much colder. One winter evening, Kai is sitting with his grandmother. Gerda's family has visitors, so Kai is alone, looking out his window at the falling snow. "The snowflakes are like white bees swarming," grandmother says. "Do they have a queen?" Kai asks. "Like real bees?" "Oh yes. The snow queen flies where the swarm is thickest. She's the largest snowflake of all, and the most beautiful. But she never rests on the ground. She always flies back up into the black clouds." That night, after grandmother is asleep, Kai stays at the window, watching the snow, thinking about the Snow Queen. And then he sees her. She's standing outside his window, in the air, 3 stories above the street, standing on nothing, as if the wind itself is supporting her. She's made entirely of ice, or snow, or something between the two. Her form is woman-shaped but transparent, glittering, like she's carved from a single enormous crystal. She wears what might be a white fur coat, or might be snow, or might be part of her body. Her face is beautiful, achingly beautiful, and completely expressionless. She looks at Kai, directly at him. Her eyes are like chips of ice, cold, knowing, ancient. She beckons to him, a slight movement of one crystalline hand. "Come. Come with me. Come to where it's always winter." Kai is frozen to the spot, not with cold, with terror and fascination equally mixed. He wants to run to her and wants to run away, wants to open the window and wants to hide under his bed. The Snow Queen smiles, not a warm smile, not a human smile, just a curve of ice where her mouth should be, and then she's gone, like she was never there. Was she real? Was she a dream, a reflection of the snow in the window? Kai doesn't know, but he can't stop thinking about her. All through that winter, he thinks about the Snow Queen, wonders if she'll come back. Half hopes she will, half hopes she won't. And then spring comes, and he forgets about her, because spring brings the roses back. It's a summer day. Kai and Gerda are sitting in their rose garden between the windows. The sun is warm, the roses are blooming, everything is perfect. They're looking at a picture book together, one of grandmother's books with illustrations of animals and plants. Kai is explaining something to Gerda, something about how flowers work, how the petals attract insects, how the insects carry pollen. He loves understanding these things, loves sharing what he knows. Gerda is half listening, mostly just happy to be with him, happy to be in the garden, happy that it's summer and the roses are blooming and everything is... Kai cries out. A sharp, sudden sound. Pain. "What's wrong?" Gerda asks, alarmed. "Something's in my eye." Kai clutches his face. "It hurts. And my chest. Something stabbed my chest." Gerda looks at his eye. She can't see anything. No eyelash, no speck of dirt, nothing visible. "It's fine," she says. "There's nothing there. Maybe you just blinked funny." "It's not fine," Kai snaps at her, more harshly than he's ever spoken to her before. "Why are you making such a fuss? Just leave me alone." Gerda draws back, hurt and confused. Kai blinks a few more times. The initial pain fades. He looks around, and everything looks different. The roses, the beautiful roses he loved just moments ago, look ugly now. He sees how the petals are already wilting at the edges, how some have brown spots, how they're imperfect, asymmetrical, already dying. "Look how ugly these roses are," he says. "What? They're beautiful." "They're disgusting. Look at this one. It's already rotting, and this one has a wormhole. They're all dying, Gerda. Everything organic dies and decays. These roses are just slowly rotting in front of us." Gerda stares at him. "Kai, what's wrong? Why are you talking like this?" "Nothing's wrong. I'm just telling the truth. You're too sentimental to see it." He looks at her face now, really looks at her, and he sees things he never noticed before. "You have a spot on your cheek," he says. "Right there. And your nose is crooked. Did you know that? It bends to the left. And you're..." "Stop it!" Gerda's eyes fill with tears. "Why are you being mean?" "I'm not being mean. I'm being honest. You're too sensitive. That's your problem. You're weak. You cry about everything." Gerda runs back to her window, back to her own apartment, away from this boy who sounds like Kai but isn't acting like Kai. Kai stays in the rose garden alone. He doesn't understand why Gerda is upset. He was just telling the truth. Isn't truth important? Isn't honesty valuable? He doesn't realize that 2 shards from the demon's mirror have struck him, one lodged in his eye. Now he can see only the ugly parts of things, only the flaws, only what's wrong. One lodged in his heart. Now he can feel only coldness, only mockery, only the cruel pleasure of pointing out others' weaknesses. He thinks he's finally seeing clearly, finally seeing the world as it really is, without the soft filter of childish sentiment. But actually, he's been cursed. Over the following weeks, Kai's transformation continues. He starts mimicking grandmother when she walks, exaggerating her limp, making the other children laugh at her. When she's hurt by this, he says, "What? It's just a joke. Can't you take a joke?" He mimics the neighbors, mocks their speech patterns, their clothes, the way they walk. He's always been observant, clever enough to notice details, but now he uses those observations as weapons. Everyone laughs at first. Kai is so funny, so clever, such perfect impressions. But then the laughter stops, because the mockery is too accurate, too cutting, too mean. Gerda tries to talk to him. "Please stop. You're hurting people." "I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just showing them the truth about themselves. If they can't handle truth, that's their problem. But why do you need to show them? Why can't you just let people be happy? Because happiness based on delusion isn't real happiness. It's just ignorance. Gerda doesn't know how to argue with this. She's not clever with words like Kai is. She just knows that something is wrong. That the boy she loves is disappearing, being replaced by someone cold and cruel. She tries everything. She brings him flowers. He points out how they're already dying. She tells him happy stories. He finds the flaws in the logic. She asks him to play their old games. He says they're childish and stupid. Nothing works. Nothing reaches him. The shard in his eye shows him only ugliness. The shard in his heart lets him feel only coldness. And he doesn't know he's changed. He thinks everyone else has gotten soft and foolish. He thinks he's the only one who sees things clearly. That's the curse. That's the horror of it. You don't know you're infected. Summer fades to autumn. Autumn fades to winter. Kai becomes obsessed with snowflakes. He brings a magnifying glass to the window and studies them. Each one is perfect, he explains to Gerda. Perfect geometry, mathematical precision, unlike those messy, chaotic roses. Look at this pattern, he says, showing her a snowflake. This is beauty, not like organic things that rot and decay. Snowflakes are pure, but they melt, Gerda points out quietly. Everything melts eventually, but at least they're perfect while they exist. At least they don't pretend to be something they're not. Gerda doesn't understand what he means. She just knows that he's slipping away from her, becoming someone else, someone she doesn't recognize. Winter grows colder. One day, the boys in the town square are playing a game. They bring their sleds to the square and tie them to larger sleds or carts, getting pulled along for a thrilling ride. Kai joins them, his small sled in hand, looking for something big to tie it to. And then it appears, a magnificent white sleigh, large, beautiful, ornate, pulled by something, a white horse maybe, or a reindeer, or something else entirely. The details are hard to see through the snow. Without thinking, Kai ties his sled to the back of it. The sleigh begins to move, slowly at first. Kai grins, enjoying the ride, but then it moves faster, too fast, racing across the square faster than any horse should run. Kai tries to untie his sled. The knot won't come loose. He pulls at it. Nothing. The rope might as well be frozen solid. "Help!" he shouts to the other boys, but they can't hear him over the wind. Or maybe they don't care. Maybe they think this is part of the game. The sleigh leaves the square, races down streets, out of the town entirely, across snow-covered fields, into the countryside, into the wild lands beyond. Kai is terrified now. He tries to pray, but all he can remember is his multiplication tables. 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 8 is 64. 9 times 9 is 81. The snowflakes around him are growing larger. They don't look like snowflakes anymore. They look like white animals. Chickens and bears and porcupines and things that have no names. All glowing with an inner light. All surrounding the sleigh like an escort. Or like guards. The sleigh stops, suddenly, completely. Kai is breathing hard, his heart pounding. Where is he? How far from town? How will he get home? The driver of the sleigh stands and turns, and Kai sees her face, the Snow Queen. She's exactly as she was when he saw her outside his window, made of ice or snow or crystal, wearing a white fur coat and hat that might be clothing or might be part of her body, beautiful beyond anything human, and completely, absolutely cold. She looks at him, studies him like he studied the snowflakes, like he's a specimen, an object of interest. "Are you cold?" she asks. Her voice is like wind over ice, like frozen bells, beautiful and terrible. Kai is colder than he's ever been in his life, shaking, shivering. His lips are blue. His fingers are numb. He can barely feel his feet. Yes, he manages. "Come under my coat." She opens her white fur, or snow, or whatever it is, and Kai climbs up beside her. She wraps the coat around him. Immediately, the shaking stops. The cold recedes. He's warm now, warmer than he's been in months, since before the shards struck him, maybe. A warmth that goes all the way through. "Are you still cold?" she asks. No. She looks at him with her ice chip eyes, and then she kisses him on the forehead. The kiss is colder than anything, colder than the winter air, colder than the deepest freeze. It goes straight through his skin, through his skull, into his brain, and down into his heart. For a moment, Kai feels like he's dying, like his heart is stopping, like his blood is turning to ice in his veins. And then, he doesn't feel cold anymore. He doesn't feel anything. The terror is gone. The fear is gone. The memory of home is fading like a dream. "Are you still cold?" the Snow Queen asks again. "No," Kai says, and his voice is flat, empty, all emotion drained away. "Good," she smiles, that terrible curve of ice. "Then let me kiss you again." She kisses him on the lips this time, and Kai forgets. Forgets Gerda, forgets grandmother, forgets the rose garden and the summer days and everything warm and good and human. He doesn't remember that he had anything to forget. His mind is blank, clean, empty as a snowfield. He's cold now, not suffering from cold, but made of cold. Cold all the way through. A boy-shaped thing made of ice, pretending to be human. The Snow Queen studies him with satisfaction. "No more kisses," she says, "or I'll kiss you to death, and I want to keep you." She puts him back in the sleigh beside her. Not roughly, not unkindly, just matter-of-factly, like picking up a doll you've dropped, and then they fly, up into the air, up into the black clouds, up into the far north where winter never ends and the sun never rises, to her palace, to her kingdom, to eternity. Back in the town, the other boys eventually notice that Kai is gone. His sled is gone. They search the square, the streets, the river. "He must have fallen through the ice," someone says. They drag the river, find nothing. The town mourns. Kai's family weeps. A funeral is held, though there's no body to bury. Everyone assumes Kai is dead, everyone except Gerda. She stands at her window, looking out at the rose garden. The roses are gone now. It's winter, and they won't bloom again until spring. But Gerda knows something that no one else seems to understand. Kai isn't dead. He's taken, and she will find him, no matter how long it takes, no matter how far she has to go, no matter what it costs her, she will find him. Winter finally ends. Spring arrives. The snow melts. The ice breaks up on the river. The world warms. But Kai doesn't come home. His family has accepted his death. The town has moved on. There are new children playing in the square, new games being played, new sleds being pulled through the snow. Only Gerda refuses to accept it. She stands by the river, the same river they dragged looking for Kai's body, and she speaks to it. Everyone says you took Kai, she says to the water. They say he fell through your ice and drowned, but I don't believe them. I don't believe you took him. The river flows past, indifferent. But if you did take him, Gerda continues, if you know where he is, I'll give you my most precious thing. Will you give him back? She sits down on the riverbank and takes off her shoes. They're red shoes, her newest, finest shoes. A gift from her parents for her birthday. She loves them. They're the most beautiful thing she owns. She throws them into the river. There, she says. My red shoes. Now give me Kai. The current catches the shoes, but then washes them back to shore, right at Gerda's feet, as if the river is rejecting her offering. Gerda picks them up and tries again, wades deeper into the river this time, throws the shoes farther out. Again the current catches them, and this time they drift downstream, away from Gerda, away from the shore. But Gerda has waded too deep. The current catches her too. She tries to get back to shore. Can't. The river is pulling her. She's too small, too light. The water is too strong. She falls, goes under, comes up gasping, coughing, flailing. Her hand strikes something. Wood. A boat. A small rowboat, tied to the shore but old and rotted. The rope breaks under her weight. Gerda pulls herself into the boat. The current carries them both downstream, away from the town, away from her home, away from everything she knows. She should be terrified, should be screaming for help, but instead, she feels a strange calm, a strange certainty. The river is taking her somewhere, maybe to Kai, maybe toward Kai. This is right. This is meant to happen. She lies in the bottom of the boat, soaking wet, exhausted, and lets the river carry her. Hours pass, or maybe days. She drifts in and out of sleep. The sun is warm on her face. The sound of the water is soothing. She's hungry and cold, and her dress is still wet, but she doesn't care. She's moving. She's doing something. She's not just sitting at home accepting that Kai is gone. Finally, the boat drifts to shore. Not the town shore. Somewhere else. Somewhere downstream. Somewhere Gerda has never been. A cottage stands near the water. A small, crooked cottage with a thatched roof and smoking chimney. Around it grow cherry trees. Huge, ancient cherry trees, heavy with ripe red fruit. An old woman comes out of the cottage. She's very old, her face deeply wrinkled, her back bent, but her eyes are bright and sharp. "My goodness," she exclaims. "How did you come here, child?" Gerda climbs out of the boat, her legs shaky from hours of not using them. "I'm looking for my friend," she says. "The river brought me here. Have you seen him? His name is Kai." "Oh, you poor thing, you're soaking wet. Come inside, come warm yourself. I'll help you find your friend." The old woman takes Gerda's hand. Her grip is firm, strong, stronger than you'd expect from someone so old. She leads Gerda into the cottage. Inside, it's warm and cozy. A fire burns in the hearth. The smell of baking bread fills the air. The old woman gives Gerda dry clothes, food, a place to sit. "Rest now," she says. "You've had a long journey. Rest, and then we'll talk about finding your friend." While Gerda eats cherries, sweet, delicious cherries, the best she's ever tasted, the old woman does something strange. She takes a golden comb from her shelf, a beautiful comb, gleaming and ornate, and she begins to comb Gerda's hair, long, slow strokes, from root to tip, over and over. "Such beautiful hair," the old woman murmurs. "Such a beautiful little girl. You must be tired from your journey. So tired. Rest now. Rest." Gerda's eyelids are growing heavy. The warm cottage, the food, the gentle touch of the comb, it's all so soothing, so comfortable. "Why was I traveling?" she asks drowsily. "You don't need to remember," the old woman says, still combing. "Just rest. Just be happy." And with each stroke of the comb, Gerda forgets a little more. The old woman is a witch, not an evil witch exactly. Not someone who eats children or casts curses or makes bargains with demons. Just a lonely old woman with a little bit of magic, who's lived alone for so many years, who's wanted a child, a daughter, a granddaughter, anyone, for so long, and now one has drifted right to her door. The golden comb is enchanted. With each stroke, it erases memories, makes the child forget why she came, where she was going, what she was looking for. Just forget. Just be happy here. Just stay forever. The old woman doesn't think she's doing anything wrong. She's giving Gerda food, shelter, love. What more could a child need? She doesn't realize, or doesn't care, that she's stolen Gerda's purpose, her mission, the thing that made her who she is. Gerda stays. Days pass. Weeks. Maybe months. Time is strange in the witch's cottage. The old woman takes Gerda into the garden. And what a garden it is. It's eternal summer here. Always warm, always bright, always blooming. Every flower imaginable grows here. Tulips and lilies and daisies and roses and flowers that have no names. They bloom constantly, never wilting, never dying. It's paradise. Gerda plays among the flowers, eats cherries from the trees, listens to the old woman's stories. She's happy, or at least she thinks she's happy. But something is wrong, something is missing. She doesn't know what. Sometimes she wakes in the night with a feeling of urgency, like there's something she's supposed to do, somewhere she's supposed to be, someone she's supposed to find. But then morning comes, and the old woman combs her hair again, and the feeling fades. The witch has been clever about one thing. She's hidden the roses, not destroyed them. She can't destroy living things without killing her own magic. But she's pushed them underground with her power, made them sink into the earth so they don't show. Because roses would remind Gerda of something, of a garden between two windows, of summer days with someone. Who? She can't quite remember. As long as there are no roses, Gerda will stay trapped in forgetting. But the witch makes one mistake. She wears a hat, a wide-brimmed hat decorated with painted flowers. And one of those painted flowers is a rose. One day, Gerda is sitting in the garden, wearing a garland of flowers the old woman wove for her. She's been here for how long? She doesn't know, doesn't remember arriving, doesn't remember anything before. She looks up at the old woman, who's standing nearby, smiling, and Gerda notices the rose on her hat, the most beautiful rose she's ever seen. And suddenly, like a door opening in her mind, she remembers. Roses, a rose garden, between two windows, a boy, Kai. She was looking for Kai. The memories come flooding back. The river, the red shoes, the journey. Everything the golden comb erased comes rushing back all at once. Gerda leaps to her feet. "Kai!" she shouts. "I have to find Kai!" She runs through the garden. Have you seen him? She asked the flowers. Have you seen Kai? The flowers haven't, but they tell her stories anyway, because that's what flowers do in magic gardens. The tiger lily tells a story about a widow throwing herself on her husband's funeral pyre in India. The convolvulus tells about prisoners in dark cells. The hyacinth tells about 3 beautiful sisters preparing for a ball. Each flower has its own tale, but none of them have seen Kai. Gerda begins to weep. All the lost time, weeks, maybe months, spent in this garden while Kai was out there somewhere, while he needed her. Her hot tears fall on the ground, and where they fall, roses spring up. Red roses, growing from the earth where the witch had pushed them down. Gerda's grief is stronger than the witch's magic. The roses push through the soil, bloom instantly, fill the air with their fragrance, and they speak. We've been underground, they say. We know the dead that lie beneath the earth. Kai is not among them. Kai is not dead. That's all Gerda needs to hear. She doesn't say goodbye to the witch, doesn't thank her for the food and shelter, just runs, out of the garden, down the path, back to the road. She has to find Kai. She's lost so much time already. When Gerda escapes from the witch's garden, she discovers something terrible. It's autumn. She entered the garden in spring. Now it's autumn. She's lost an entire summer, trapped in eternal sunshine. The air is cold. The leaves are falling. Winter is coming. And Gerda has no shoes, thrown in the river months ago. No coat. She left it behind when spring arrived. She's wearing only a thin dress, and she's barefoot on a cold road that leads north. North. Somehow she knows Kai is north. The cold came from the north. The Snow Queen's palace must be north. That's all she has. A direction, not a destination, not a plan, just north. She walks. Her feet hurt. The road is rough, covered in fallen leaves and small stones. But she walks. Days pass. One day she meets a crow. Not a wild crow, a tame one hopping along the road. And this crow can speak. "What are you doing out here, little girl?" the crow asks. "It's getting cold. Winter's coming. Where are you going?" "I'm looking for my friend Kai," Gerda says. "Have you seen him?" The crow hops from foot to foot, considering. "Well," he says slowly, "there's a boy at the palace. Came from nowhere, they say. Very clever. Solved the princess's riddle. She married him. Could be your friend." Gerda's heart leaps. The palace? Kai married a princess? That seems strange. Wrong, somehow. Kai wouldn't just abandon her and marry someone else. Would he? But maybe he was forced to. Maybe he had no choice. Maybe if she can reach him, she can help him escape. "Can you take me there?" she asks. The crow looks doubtful. "I'm not supposed to bring strangers into the palace, but I suppose I could ask my wife. She's a palace crow. She might know a way." The crow flies off and returns with his wife, a sleek, well-fed crow who clearly has access to palace kitchens. Together, they devise a plan. They'll sneak Gerda in through the servants' entrance, up the back stairs, through hidden corridors, all the way to the royal bedchamber where the prince and princess sleep. "You'll have to be very quiet," the wife crow warns. "If the guards catch you, there will be trouble." "I'll be quiet," Gerda promises. They wait until night, until the palace is dark and most people are asleep. The crows lead Gerda through gardens and side doors, up narrow staircases meant for servants, through hallways lined with portraits of stern-looking royalty, Gerda's heart is pounding. After all this time, after all this walking, after the river and the witch's garden and the lost summer, she's finally going to see Kai. They reach a grand door, the royal bedchamber. The crows push it open a crack. "Go on," they whisper. "Be quick." Gerda slips inside. The room is enormous, bigger than her entire apartment back home. 2 beds stand in the center, elaborately carved and canopied. One is shaped like a lily, the other like a rose. In one bed sleeps the princess. In the other sleeps the prince. Gerda can't see their faces, can't tell if the prince is Kai. She tiptoes closer, her bare feet silent on the thick carpet. She reaches the bed shaped like a lily, whispers, "Kai?" The prince stirs, wakes, sits up, and Gerda sees his face. It's not Kai. Of course it's not Kai. Just another boy, another prince, someone else entirely. Gerda bursts into tears. All that hope, all that certainty, all that distance traveled, and it was for nothing. Kai isn't here. He's somewhere else, somewhere she still has to find. The prince and princess wake fully now, startled to find a crying girl in their bedchamber. But they're kind. They don't call the guards, don't have her thrown out. They listen to her story about Kai and the Snow Queen and the long journey. "You poor child," the princess says. "You've walked so far." "We haven't seen your friend," the prince adds, "but we want to help." They give Gerda food, a warm bed to sleep in, new clothes, including a beautiful fur muff to keep her hands warm. In the morning, they give her something more, a golden carriage pulled by horses with a driver and servants. "Take this," the princess says. "It will make your journey easier." "We hope you find him," the prince says. They don't say what they really think, that Kai is probably dead, that this girl is chasing a ghost, that she should go home. But Gerda wouldn't listen anyway. She climbs into the golden carriage, waves goodbye, continues north. The carriage is magnificent, golden and bright, clearly expensive. The horses are well bred. The servants wear fine livery, which is exactly the problem. They're riding through a dark forest when it happens. Robbers. They come out of the trees like shadows, armed with knives and clubs, surrounding the carriage. "Look at this," one shouts. "A golden carriage. We're rich." The driver tries to outrun them. Can't. They cut down the horses. Gerda hears them scream and drag the driver from his seat. The servants run. The robbers laugh. The carriage door is torn open. A horrible old woman looks in at Gerda, scarred face, wild hair, missing teeth. "Look how plump she is," the old woman cackles. "Like a little lamb. She'll be tender." She reaches for Gerda with a knife. "No!" Another voice, younger, sharper. A girl appears behind the old woman, wild-looking, with tangled hair and torn clothes. About Gerda's age, maybe a year older, the robber girl. She shoves the old woman aside. "She's mine," the robber girl declares. "I want her as a playmate. Give her to me." The old woman, clearly the girl's mother, grumbles but agrees. Gerda has been saved. Not by kindness, not by justice, just by the whim of a violent child who wants a new toy. The robber girl grabs Gerda's arm and drags her out of the ruined carriage. "Come on," she says. You're coming home with me." They walk through the forest, Gerda stumbling, the robber girl pulling her along. Behind them, the other robbers are fighting over the carriage, the servants' belongings, whatever spoils they can claim. Finally, they reach the robbers' castle. It's a ruin, half burned, half standing. Ravens and crows nest in the holes in the walls. The roof is mostly gone. Inside, smoke and dirt and chaos. The robbers are having a party, drinking, eating, fighting. Dogs run wild, barking and snarling. The whole place smells of smoke and unwashed bodies and violence. The robber girl drags Gerda to a corner, her territory. "You'll sleep here," she announces, "with me and my animals." She has a collection of captive creatures, wood pigeons in a dirty cage, a reindeer tied to the wall with a rope around its neck. The robber girl is cruel to them. She pokes the pigeons with a stick, pulls at the reindeer's antlers. She seems to enjoy causing pain. Gerda is terrified, exhausted, traumatized, but she knows better than to cry or complain. This girl is dangerous, unpredictable, one moment laughing, the next moment violent. That night, lying on the robber girl's filthy bed, Gerda tells her story about Kai and the mirror shards and the Snow Queen, about the journey, the witch's garden, the wrong palace. The robber girl listens, fascinated. "So you're looking for this boy," she says, "and you've walked all this way?" "Yes." "That's stupid. He's probably dead." "He's not dead." The robber girl pokes Gerda with her knife, not hard enough to draw blood but close, testing, seeing how far she can push. "You're weird," she says finally, "but I like you. I'm going to keep you." Gerda says nothing, just lies still, hoping the robber girl falls asleep soon, hoping she survives the night. The reindeer in the corner suddenly speaks. "I know about the Snow Queen." Everyone freezes. The reindeer can talk? "I'm from Lapland," the reindeer continues. His voice is deep and tired. "From the far north. I've seen the Snow Queen's palace. It's in Finnmark, in the frozen lands beyond where the sun sets." Gerda sits up. "You've seen it? You know where it is?" "I know. I was born near there, before I was captured, before I was brought here and tied to this wall." Gerda looks at the robber girl, pleading silently. The robber girl is quiet for a long time. She could keep Gerda forever. A companion, a playmate, someone gentle where she's violent, someone kind where she's cruel. But something in Gerda's devotion moves her. This stupid girl who's walked across the world for a boy who probably doesn't remember her. "Fine," the robber girl says finally. "You can have the reindeer. You can go." "Really? But you have to promise to come back. I want to know what happens. I want to know if you find him." Gerda promises. She's lying. She knows she's lying. She'll never come back to this horrible place. The robber girl knows she's lying too, but she doesn't call her on it. Instead, she gives Gerda supplies. Her own warm mittens, taken from her hands. Her mother's fur muff, stolen while the old woman sleeps. Bread and dried meat. "I'd give you my knife," she says, "but I need it." She unties the reindeer, helps Gerda climb onto its back. "Go," she says, her voice rough. "Go find your stupid boy." She's crying. She doesn't know why. She never cries. She's killed people and laughed, tortured animals without remorse. But this girl, this gentle, stupid, devoted girl, makes her cry. Gerda hugs her. The robber girl stiffens, then softens. Thank you, Gerda whispers. Get out of here before I change my mind. The reindeer runs, away from the castle, through the forest, north toward the frozen lands. Gerda clings to its neck. Behind her, the robber girl stands watching until they disappear into the darkness. She'll never see Gerda again. But for the rest of her violent life, she'll remember the girl who loved someone enough to walk through hell. And sometimes, just sometimes, when she's being particularly cruel to someone, she'll stop, remember Gerda, and choose differently. The reindeer runs faster than any horse. Its hooves pound the earth, eating up miles with each stride. Gerda clings to its neck, her face buried in its fur, feeling the powerful muscles moving beneath her. They travel for days. The landscape changes around them. The forest thins, becomes sparse. The trees grow smaller, more twisted by wind. Then there are no trees at all, just low shrubs and bare rock. The temperature drops, not gradually, suddenly, as if they've crossed an invisible line between the world of warmth and the world of cold. Snow appears. At first, just patches on the ground. Then everywhere, permanent snow that never melts. The sky changes too, becomes larger somehow, emptier, like they're approaching the edge of the world and there's nothing beyond but void. Gerda has never been this far north, never imagined places like this existed, where the sun barely rises, where the cold is so intense it hurts to breathe. But the reindeer knows this land, was born here, knows every rock and frozen stream. How much farther? Gerda asks. Far, the reindeer says. Very far, but we're on the right path. They stop at a hut, barely more than a hole in the ground with smoke coming out. The Lapland woman lives here, alone. She's so small and weathered, she almost looks like part of the landscape. The robber girl had given Gerda a message, written on a dried fish because there's no paper this far north. The Lapland woman reads it and nods. The Snow Queen's palace, she says. You're going there? Yes, Gerda says. To save my friend. The woman shakes her head. That boy, Kai, you said. He doesn't want to be saved. The Snow Queen has kissed him. He's forgotten you, forgotten everything. Then I'll make him remember. The woman looks at Gerda with something like respect. There's another woman, she says. The Finnmark woman. She lives even farther north, at the very edge of the world. She'll know what to do. The reindeer can take you there. She gives them dried fish to eat, the only food she has. Wishes them luck. The reindeer runs again, even colder now. The cold is a physical thing, a presence, a weight. It presses down on Gerda, seeps into her bones, makes every breath painful. Her hands in the robber girl's mittens are numb. Her face feels frozen. Even with the reindeer's warmth beneath her, she's so cold she can barely think. How can anyone live here? How can anything survive this? But the reindeer is at home, doesn't seem bothered by the cold, just keeps running, steady and strong. Finally, after what feels like years but is probably only days, they reach another hut, even smaller than the last one, even more primitive. The Finnmark woman's home. They have to knock on the chimney because there's no door. The whole hut is built underground, with only the chimney poking up through the snow. The Finnmark woman emerges. She's even older than the Lapland woman. So old she seems to be made of wrinkles and weather and time itself. The reindeer speaks to her, tells her about Gerda's quest, about Kai and the Snow Queen. "Can you give this girl power?" the reindeer asks. "Power to defeat the Snow Queen? To break the curse? To save her friend?" The Finnmark woman looks at Gerda, really looks at her, as if seeing past her skin into her soul. "I can't," she says. Gerda's heart sinks. "Why not?" the reindeer asks. "Because I can't give her anything she doesn't already have." The old woman smiles, a smile like weathered rock cracking. She already has all the power she needs. What power? The power in her heart. Look at what she's already done. She's walked across the world, survived a witch's enchantment, escaped from robbers, crossed the frozen north, all for a boy who doesn't remember her, all for love. The Finnmark woman turns to Gerda. "That's your power, your love, your willingness to suffer, your refusal to give up. That's stronger than any magic I could give you." "But how will that help me defeat the Snow Queen?" "You can't defeat her. She's immortal, a force of nature. You can't fight winter itself." The old woman pauses. "But you can save Kai. You can remind him who he is. You can make him remember love." "How?" "The same way you've done everything else. By refusing to stop. By loving him when he doesn't love you back. By being warm when everything else is cold." Gerda doesn't understand, but she nods anyway. The Finnmark woman gives her no supplies, no weapons, no magical artifacts, just information. The Snow Queen's palace is 2 miles north of here. You can see it from the top of that ridge, the shimmer in the air, like heat haze but cold. That's where you'll find Kai. "Can the reindeer take me?" "No, you must walk the last part alone." "But I'll freeze." "Yes, probably, but that's the price." The old woman's eyes are kind but implacable. Everything worth having costs something. Love costs suffering. Salvation costs sacrifice. You can turn back now if you want. No one would blame you. Gerda thinks about Kai, about the rose garden, about summer days that feel like another lifetime. "I won't turn back." The Finnmark woman nods. "Then go, and may your love be stronger than the cold." The reindeer sets Gerda down at the base of the ridge. "I'll wait here," he says. "Come back if you can." "Thank you," Gerda whispers. She hugs his neck. He's been carrying her for days, never complaining, never faltering. "Go quickly," he says, "before you lose the light." Gerda looks up. The sun is low on the horizon. Will be for hours. In this strange land where day and night don't work properly. But the Finnmark woman was right. She needs to go alone. She starts walking. The snow is deep. Each step sinks to her knees. She has to pull her feet up, push forward, sink again. Over and over. And she's barefoot. The snow is so cold it burns. Like fire, but the opposite of fire. Her feet go numb almost immediately. She can't feel them anymore. Can't tell if she's still moving or if she's frozen in place. But she keeps walking. Blood begins to seep into the snow around her footprints. Her feet are cut, blistered, bleeding from the cold. The mittens and muff keep her hands warm, but there's nothing for her feet. She keeps walking. 2 miles, the Finnmark woman said. Just 2 miles. But 2 miles through this snow feels like 200. Gerda starts to pray. The Lord's Prayer, the only prayer she knows by heart. "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." And something strange happens. Her breath in the cold air becomes visible, as everyone's breath does in extreme cold. But this visible breath doesn't dissipate. It holds its form, takes shape. Little angels, made of frozen breath. Tiny, maybe the size of her hand, with wings and faces and glowing with soft light. More and more of them appear with each exhalation. A whole host of breath angels surrounding Gerda, accompanying her. She thinks she's hallucinating, dying maybe. This is what happens when you freeze to death. You see things, but then she sees them move. They fly ahead of her, scouting the path. They circle around her, keeping close, as if protecting her. And then she sees why. Ahead, blocking the path, creatures, made of snow and ice and cold. Porcupines the size of dogs, their quills like icicles. Bears made of compacted snow, moving with terrible purpose. Snakes of frozen wind, coiling and striking. The Snow Queen's guards. They advance on Gerda, squealing and roaring and hissing. Dozens of them. She has no weapon, no defense. She's a small, freezing girl with bleeding feet, and they're monsters made of ice. The breath angels attack. They swarm the ice creatures. Their tiny hands, no bigger than fingers, touch the snow monsters. And something happens. The ice shatters, cracks and falls apart. The angels are warm, not hot, just warm, just alive, just human. And that's enough. The snow creatures can't withstand even that small amount of warmth. They break apart, collapse, become ordinary snow again. Gerda walks through the battlefield. The angels clear the path for her. She doesn't stop, can't stop. If she stops moving, she'll freeze to death. She keeps praying, keeps breathing, keeps creating angels. The ridge levels out. She's at the top now. And she sees it. The palace. At first, she thinks she's not seeing anything, just more snow and ice and empty horizon. Then she realizes the palace is the snow. The palace is the ice. It's not a building in the traditional sense. It's a structure formed from frozen precipitation. Walls of compacted snow, towers of ice, windows that are just gaps in snowdrifts, doorways that are spaces between frozen columns. It's enormous, hundreds of rooms, maybe thousands, all empty, all cold, all lit by the aurora borealis that dances overhead. Green and pink and purple lights that make the ice glow from within. It's the most beautiful and most terrible thing Gerda has ever seen. She walks toward it. The gates, if you can call them gates, are open. Or rather, there's no gate, just an opening in the ice. An invitation, a mouth ready to swallow her. Gerda walks through. Inside, the temperature drops even further. She didn't think it was possible to be colder. She was wrong. This is cold that goes beyond physical, cold that seeps into your soul, cold that makes you forget what warmth ever felt like. The halls stretch away in all directions, cathedral-sized rooms with ceilings that disappear into darkness, corridors that go on forever. Everything made of ice, everything glittering, everything empty. Kai! Gerda calls. Her voice echoes, bounces off ice walls, returns to her multiplied and distorted. Kai, Kai, Kai. No answer. She walks deeper into the palace, through room after room after room, all empty, all identical. Ice and more ice and nothing else. She's crying now. The tears freeze on her cheeks before they can fall. Where is he? Where could he be in this impossible place? She follows something she can't name, an instinct, a pull, something drawing her toward the center of the palace. And finally, she reaches it, a vast room, the largest yet. At its center, a frozen lake. The ice is perfectly smooth, perfectly flat, like glass, like a mirror. The Snow Queen calls it the mirror of reason. It reflects everything exactly as it is. No distortion, no warmth, no mercy, just truth, cold, hard truth. And sitting on this frozen lake, surrounded by pieces of ice, is a boy. He's blue with cold. His lips are nearly black. His skin is white. He's barely moving, barely breathing, if he's breathing at all. But Gerda would recognize him anywhere. Kai, after all this time, after all this distance, after all this suffering, she's found him. He's sitting cross-legged on the ice, surrounded by flat pieces of ice, like tiles or puzzle pieces. He's moving them around, pushing them with his fingers, arranging them into patterns, testing configurations. He doesn't look up as Gerda approaches, doesn't seem to hear her footsteps. He's completely focused on the puzzle. Gerda gets closer, looks at what he's doing. The ice pieces have shapes, geometric shapes, crystalline patterns. Kai is trying to arrange them into something, into a word, maybe, into a specific pattern. And then Gerda sees, in the center of the frozen lake, drawn in frost, are letters spelling eternity. Kai is trying to arrange his ice pieces to match those letters, to spell the word eternity with pieces of ice. If he succeeds, something will happen, some reward, some release. But he can't do it. He's been trying for how long? Weeks, months, years? Time doesn't work the same way here. The pieces won't fit, won't form the right shapes. No matter how he arranges them, they spell nothing, or they spell everything except eternity. Kai doesn't give up, just keeps moving pieces, over and over, forever, or until he dies, whichever comes first. Gerda stands at the edge of the frozen lake, looking at Kai, at what's left of Kai. He's so pale, so still. He looks like a corpse that's somehow still moving, a dead boy doing a dead task in a dead palace forever. Kai, Gerda whispers. He doesn't respond, doesn't even glance up, just keeps moving ice pieces. Gerda steps onto the frozen lake. Her bleeding feet leave red marks on the perfect white surface. Kai! Louder now, desperate. Still nothing. She runs toward him, stumbles, falls, gets up, keeps running. Her feet slip on the smooth ice, but she doesn't care. She reaches him, throws her arms around him. He's so cold, not just cold, made of cold, like embracing a statue carved from ice. No warmth at all, no life. Kai, it's me. It's Gerda. I found you. He finally looks at her. His eyes are dull, lifeless, like chips of ice in a snowman's face. Who are you? His voice is flat, empty, all emotion drained away. It's Gerda, your friend, from home. We have to go home, Kai. We have to leave this place. I can't leave. I have to solve the puzzle. When I solve it, I'll be free. You don't need to solve it. Just come with me, please. But Kai just turns back to his ice pieces, dismissing her. She's not important. Only the puzzle is important. Gerda's heart is breaking. She's walked across the world for him, bled for him, nearly died for him, and he doesn't even recognize her. She kneels beside him on the ice, wraps her arms around him again, tries to warm him with her body, but she has so little warmth left. Please, she sobs, please remember me. Please come home. Kai says nothing, just keeps working on his puzzle, and Gerda weeps, really weeps. Not gentle tears, but wrenching, agonizing sobs. All the pain of the journey pouring out, all the fear and exhaustion and loneliness, all the months of hoping and searching and suffering. She cries onto Kai's chest, hot tears streaming down her frozen cheeks, falling onto him. And something happens. The tears are hot, heated by her grief, by her love, by her desperate, devastating devotion. They fall onto Kai's chest, where his heart is, where the shard is lodged, and they're so hot, so much hotter than the palace, so much hotter than the ice, so much hotter than anything in this frozen kingdom, that they sink in, through his coat, through his shirt, through his skin, down to his heart, down to the shard of mirror embedded there, and the shard begins to melt, slowly at first, just the edges, then faster, the heat spreading through it, breaking it down, dissolving it like ice in summer sun. The shard melts, liquefies, runs out of Kai's heart like water, and suddenly, Kai gasps, a real gasp, a living sound. His chest heaves like he's been underwater and just broke the surface. His heart is beating, really beating, not the slow, cold pulse it's had for months, but a real heartbeat, fast and strong and warm. He can feel again, and what he feels is agony, because everything comes flooding back, everything the Snow Queen made him forget, and with it comes the realization of how much time has passed, how long he's been cold, how much he's lost. Gerda? His voice is different now, full of emotion, full of pain and confusion and dawning horror. Yes, it's me. But Kai is looking at her strangely, at her face, and something is wrong with how he's seeing her. There's still the shard in his eye. The shard in his heart is gone, melted by Gerda's tears, but the one in his eye remains. He sees Gerda, but wrong, distorted, ugly. He sees her suffering and doesn't see devotion. He sees foolishness. He sees her desperation and doesn't see love. He sees weakness. Why are you here? He asks. And his voice is cold. Not Snow Queen cold, but cruel, mocking. I came to save you. I don't need saving. He turns back to his puzzle. Leave me alone. This is pathetic. Gerda recoils as if he'd struck her. His heart is warm again, but his eye still sees only ugliness. And right now, that's stronger. Gerda kneels on the ice. Kai has turned away from her, back to his endless puzzle. She's come so far, suffered so much, and he's telling her to leave. She doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to reach him. The shard in his heart is gone, but the one in his eye remains, and as long as he can't see her properly, he can't remember her properly. And then she remembers something, a song, a hymn they used to sing together as children in the rose garden, with grandmother in the evenings. She starts to sing, her voice broken by crying, hoarse from cold, barely above a whisper, but she sings. Where roses bloom so sweetly, in the vale so fair, there shall you find Christ waiting for you there. It's a simple hymn, a children's hymn, about faith and gardens and the presence of the divine in simple things. Kai freezes. That song, he knows that song. Where roses deck the meadows, where birds their songs do sing, there shall we find our Saviour, there shall our voices ring. The melody unlocks something, not a thought. Thoughts can be controlled, suppressed, but a memory deeper than thought, a sense memory, a feeling, summer, warmth, flowers, a garden between two windows, a girl with a gentle voice, grandmother rocking in her chair, the smell of roses, the feeling of being loved. Gerda, Gerda, Kai whispers. He turns to look at her, really look at her this time, and he begins to cry. He hasn't cried since the Snow Queen took him, hasn't been able to. The shard in his heart made him cold, and cold things don't cry. But his heart is warm now. The tears come, hot tears, human tears, tears of grief and shame and dawning realization of what he's lost. They stream down his face, run into his eyes, wash over the shard lodged in his left eye, and the shard, frozen in place for so long, begins to shift. The heat of the tears melts the edges. The salt breaks down the ice. The shard loosens, comes free, falls. It hits the frozen lake and shatters into pieces so small, they're invisible. Kai blinks, rubs his eyes, opens them again, and he can see, really see, without the filter of the demon's mirror, without the curse making everything ugly. He sees Gerda. Her face is dirty, her dress is torn, her feet are bleeding. She's shivering with cold and crying and looks like she's been through hell. She's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Gerda, his voice breaks. Is it really you? Yes! She's sobbing and laughing at the same time. Yes, it's me. But where? What? How did you? He can't form complete sentences. His mind is chaos. Where am I? What is this place? He doesn't remember the palace, doesn't remember the Snow Queen, doesn't remember the months, years he spent sitting on this ice, solving this puzzle. His last clear memory is tying his sled to a white sleigh in the town square. Everything after that is fog and cold, and nothing. We're in the Snow Queen's palace, Gerda tells him. She took you. She made you forget. But I found you. I walked across the world, and I found you. Kai looks around, sees the vast frozen room, the ice pillars, the aurora light, the impossible architecture. How long have I been here? Months. Almost a year. Kai stares at her in horror. A year. A whole year of his life. Gone. Stolen. Erased. I don't remember, he whispers. I don't remember any of it. It's all right. You're free now. We can go home. They embrace, both crying, both freezing, both damaged in ways that will take years to heal. But they're together. The ice pieces around them begin to move, on their own, without anyone touching them. They slide across the frozen lake, spinning, dancing, rearranging themselves. Kai and Gerda watch, amazed. The pieces are forming a pattern, a word, the word Kai has been trying to spell for so long. Eternity. The puzzle solves itself. Not because Kai was clever enough, not because he worked hard enough, not because he deserved it, but because of love, because Gerda came for him, because she cried for him, because her warmth melted his coldness. The puzzle recognizes something Kai couldn't understand while he was cursed. You can't think your way to eternity. You can't reason your way to transcendence. You can't solve love like a math problem. Eternity isn't in the head, it's in the heart. The moment the word is complete, something changes in the palace. The ice begins to crack, not breaking, just loosening. The palace is releasing them. Or maybe it's just that the Snow Queen's power is weaker now. Maybe saving Kai has somehow diminished her. "We have to go," Gerda says, "before she comes back." "Where is she?" "I don't know, but we can't be here when she returns." Kai tries to stand. His legs won't work properly. He's been sitting for so long, months without moving, without walking. His muscles are atrophied. Gerda helps him up, supports his weight. Together they stumble off the frozen lake, through the vast ice room, toward the exit. Behind them, the ice pieces spelling eternity begin to melt. The palace doesn't stop them. Maybe it can't. Maybe the spell is broken. Maybe the Snow Queen's power only works on the willing, and Kai is no longer willing. They walk through the empty halls, through rooms the size of cathedrals, past ice walls and frozen columns and windows that show nothing but endless white. Kai keeps looking around, trying to remember, but there's nothing to remember. His mind during those months was blank, empty as the rooms they're walking through. "Did she hurt you?" Gerda asks quietly. "I don't know. I don't remember anything. Just cold. Just being cold all the time. And the puzzle. Always the puzzle." "You're safe now. We're going home." They reach the gates, step out into the Arctic air. It's warmer outside than inside. Not warm, still far below freezing, but warmer than the palace. The breath angels are gone. The snow creatures are gone. Everything is just ordinary snow and ice, an empty landscape. But waiting at the bottom of the ridge, the reindeer. "You found him," the reindeer calls. "You actually found him." Gerda has never been so happy to see anyone in her life. Kai stares at the talking reindeer. "Is that—" "Yes." He talks. Everything talks in this place. Just accept it. They stumble down the ridge. Kai's legs barely work. Gerda's feet are destroyed. They support each other, two damaged people barely functioning. The reindeer meets them halfway. "Climb on," he says. "Both of you, we're going home." They climb onto his back. Kai in front, Gerda behind, her arms wrapped around him to keep him from falling. The reindeer runs, south, away from the palace, away from the eternal winter, away from the place where time stopped and cold reigned forever. Kai looks back once. The palace is already disappearing behind them, fading into the snow. Or maybe it was never really there at all. Maybe it was just a hallucination, a nightmare, a bad dream in the shape of ice. But the coldness in his bones tells him it was real. And he knows with absolute certainty that he'll never be fully warm again. The reindeer runs for hours, days. Kai and Gerda cling to his back, too exhausted to speak, too cold to think. Gradually, the landscape changes. The permanent snow becomes intermittent. The bare rock becomes sparse vegetation. The air becomes slightly less brutal. They're leaving the far north, leaving the lands where the Snow Queen rules, leaving winter behind, at least the physical winter. The winter in Kai's heart might never leave. They stop at the Finnmark woman's hut. She looks at them, two half-frozen children on a reindeer's back, and nods with satisfaction. "You did it. You brought him back." "Yes," Gerda says. The old woman gives them warm soup, dried fish, a place to rest by her underground fire. She looks at Kai with concern. "He's been marked by cold. The Snow Queen's kiss. It leaves a scar that doesn't heal." "But he'll be all right?" Gerda asks. "Maybe. If he remembers how to feel. If he can learn to be warm again." Kai sits by the fire, silent, confused, trying to understand what happened to him. He remembers being cruel to Gerda, to grandmother, to everyone, making fun of people, being cold and mocking and mean. "Was that really me?" he asks quietly. "That was the shard," Gerda tells him. "The piece of the demon's mirror. It made you see only ugliness." "But I liked being cruel. I thought it was funny. I thought everyone else was stupid and I was the only one who saw the truth." He looks at his hands. They're shaking. Not from cold, from horror at what he remembers. "How could I have been like that? How could I have hurt you?" "It wasn't you. It was the curse. But it was me. The words came from my mouth. The thoughts came from my head. Even if a curse made me think them, I still thought them." Gerda doesn't know what to say. She just holds his hand. They rest for a day, then continue south. At the Lapland woman's hut, they stop again. More food, more rest, more slowly returning to life. Kai is starting to remember more. The Snow Queen's face, her cold kisses, the way she looked at him, like he was a thing, not a person, like he was a toy she could play with and discard. "She kissed me," he tells Gerda. "And I forgot everything. I forgot you. I forgot grandmother. I forgot my own name. All I knew was the puzzle and the cold. But you're free now. Am I?" Kai touches his chest, where the shard used to be. "I can still feel it sometimes, like there's ice in my heart that won't melt." "It will take time," the Lapland woman says. "The Snow Queen's mark doesn't fade quickly, but it does fade. Warmth will return, slowly, if you let it." They leave the next morning. South, always south, toward home, toward warmth, toward life. They reach the robber's castle. The robber girl is there, waiting. She's been watching the road every day since Gerda left. When she sees them, Gerda and a boy on the reindeer's back, she whoops with joy. "You found him! You actually found him!" She runs to meet them, looks at Kai critically. "He doesn't look like much. You walked across the world for this?" Kai doesn't know how to respond. He's never met anyone like this wild, violent girl with a knife at her belt. "Yes," Gerda says simply. "I did." The robber girl's eyes soften, just for a moment. Then she covers it with roughness. "Well, I kept your carriage, repaired the wheels. The horses are dead, but I got you new ones. Consider it payment for..." She pauses. "For showing me what stupid looks like when it works." She gives them the carriage, and more: food, warm blankets, money stolen from travelers. "Where did you get all this?" Gerda asks. "Don't ask questions you don't want answered." The robber girl grins, then more seriously. "I've been thinking about what you said, about having something worth fighting for, about loving someone enough to walk through hell. And I've decided I'm going to leave." Join the army maybe. Find something to fight for that isn't just stealing and hurting people. She hugs Gerda fiercely, whispers in her ear, "Thank you for showing me there's more." Then she steps back, tough and harsh again. "Now get out of here before I change my mind and rob you." Gerda and Kai climb into the carriage. The robber girl watches them leave. She'll keep her word. She'll leave the robber's castle, join the army, become someone different, someone better. Because sometimes all it takes to change is seeing someone who believes in something impossible and makes it real. They travel for weeks. The carriage carries them south through changing landscapes, through forests that are actually green, through towns where people speak languages they can almost understand, through lands where spring has already arrived. The farther south they go, the warmer it gets. Not just physically, though that too, but emotionally. Life returning, color returning, hope returning. But Kai stays quiet. He's polite to the people they meet. He thanks Gerda constantly. He does everything right. But something in him is still cold. "What's wrong?" Gerda asks one evening as they camp by the road. "I keep thinking about who I was, before the Shards, when I was being cruel. That wasn't you, it was me. That's what I keep trying to tell you. The Shard didn't create those thoughts. It just freed them, made me say things I always thought, but never said out loud. Made me act on impulses I always had, but always suppressed." "Kai, no. I was always a little cruel, Gerda. Always a little mocking. Always noticing people's flaws and finding them funny. The Shard just made me honest about it." Gerda is quiet for a long moment. "Maybe that's true," she says finally. "Maybe we all have cruelty in us. All have the capacity to hurt people. But what matters is what we do with it. Whether we feed it or starve it. Whether we let it control us or fight it." "But what if I can't fight it? What if that's just who I am?" "Then you choose every day to be someone else. And every day you choose that, you become a little less that person." Kai wants to believe her, wants to think he can change, can become someone better than the boy who mocked and hurt everyone he loved. But the doubt remains. They reach the prince and princess's palace. The royal couple welcomes them with joy. "You found him. We're so glad." They offer Kai and Gerda rooms, food, rest, offer to let them stay as long as they want. But Gerda shakes her head. "We need to go home. Our families think we're dead. We've been gone for almost a year." The princess looks worried. She can see what Gerda seems unable to see, that Kai is damaged, that something in him is broken in a way that might not fix. But she says nothing, just gives them supplies for the rest of their journey, wishes them well. As they're leaving, she pulls Gerda aside. "Be patient with him," she says quietly. "He's been through something terrible. It will take time for him to heal, if he heals." "He'll heal," Gerda says firmly. "He has to." The princess doesn't argue, but her eyes are sad. Finally, they see it in the distance. Their town, the familiar church steeple, the familiar rooftops, the familiar streets they walked as children. Gerda is crying with joy. They're home. After everything, the river and the witch and the robbers and the frozen north, they're finally home. Kai is silent, looking at the town where he grew up, the place he hasn't seen in almost a year, the place he thought he'd never see again. He should be happy, should be overjoyed, but all he feels is fear. Fear that he won't fit anymore. Fear that he's changed too much. Fear that the boy who left is not the boy returning. They climb down from the carriage, walk through the familiar streets. People stare at them, 2 children who were dead, now alive. They climb the stairs to their attic apartments. The doors are still there. The rose garden between the windows, now in full bloom, because it's summer again. Grandmother is in her chair. She looks up, sees them, and her face crumbles. Kai? Gerda, is it really? It's us, Grandmother, Gerda says. We're home. Grandmother weeps. Gerda's parents come running. Kai's parents come from next door. Everyone is crying and laughing and embracing. We thought you were dead, Grandmother keeps saying. Both of you. We gave up hope. We're alive, Kai says quietly. We're home. But even as he says it, he wonders if it's true. Is he really home? Or is this just another place he doesn't belong? Summer has returned to the rose garden. Kai and Gerda sit together among the flowers, like they used to, like they did before everything changed. The roses are blooming, pink and red and white, filling the air with fragrance. The branches intertwine above them, creating that same tunnel of flowers that sheltered their childhood games. Everything looks the same, but nothing feels the same. Kai looks at the roses. Without the shard in his eye, he can see their beauty again. The delicate petals, the perfect colors, the way the sunlight catches on morning dew. They're beautiful. He can see that now, can appreciate them without the curse making him see only their flaws. But something is still wrong. Do you remember how we used to play here? Gerda asks. You'd tell me about how flowers work, how bees carry pollen. You made everything seem so magical. I remember, Kai says quietly. I remember teaching you things, and then I remember making fun of you for not understanding fast enough, for being... His voice breaks. I was so cruel to you, Gerda. I said terrible things. About you, about Grandmother, about everyone. How can you even look at me? That wasn't you. That was the shard. But it was me. Kai's voice rises, anguished. Don't you understand? The shard didn't put thoughts in my head. It just made me honest about thoughts that were already there. I've always been a little mean, always been a little mocking. The shard just gave me permission to act on it. Kai, I called Grandmother stupid. I mocked her limp. I saw you cry and I felt satisfied, like I'd won something. What kind of person feels that way? A person who was cursed, Gerda says firmly. You had a piece of a demon's mirror in your eye and your heart. It twisted everything, made you see wrong, feel wrong, be wrong. Or maybe it just showed me who I really am. Maybe I'm just a cruel person. Maybe that's always been true. Gerda takes his hand. It's warm now. Warmer than it was in the palace anyway, but still colder than it should be. Listen to me, she says. Everyone has the capacity for cruelty. Everyone has mean thoughts sometimes, but most people don't act on them. Most people fight those impulses. You were robbed of the ability to fight. The shard took that choice away from you. But I didn't want to fight. I liked being cruel. I thought I was finally seeing the truth, finally being honest instead of pretending. That's what the curse does. It makes you think cruelty is honesty, that mockery is truth, that coldness is clarity. Kai is quiet for a long moment. How do I know it's really gone? He asks finally. How do I know I won't wake up one day and start being that person again? Because you're afraid of it. That fear, that awareness that you could be cruel, that's what keeps you from becoming cruel. People who are truly cold don't worry about being cold. They don't even notice. Kai wants to believe her, desperately wants to believe that he's not fundamentally broken, that he can be good again. But the doubt remains, like ice in his heart that won't fully melt. Days pass, weeks. Kai and Gerda settle back into their lives. They help their families. They play in the rose garden. They try to be the children they were before. But they're not those children anymore. One evening, grandmother sings their hymn, the one Gerda sang in the ice palace, the one that unlocked Kai's memory and broke the curse. Where roses bloom so sweetly in the vale so fair, there shall you find Christ waiting for you there. Kai and Gerda join in, their voices small but steady, blending together the way they used to. When the song ends, grandmother looks at them with wise, sad eyes. "You've both changed," she says. Not an accusation, just an observation. "We've been on a long journey," Gerda says. "I can see that. You're not children anymore, not really." It's true. Though they're still young, still only 8 or 9 years old, they've seen things no child should see, suffered things no child should suffer, lost things no child should lose. Hans Christian Andersen writes it like this: "There sat the two grown-up persons, grown up and yet children, children at least in heart." It's a strange phrase, a contradictory phrase. They're children, in age, in size, but they're also grown-up persons, in experience, in what they've lost, in what they know about pain and suffering and the darkness in the world. They're caught between two states, no longer innocent enough to be truly children, not old enough to be truly adults, just marked, changed, forever different from who they were. Kai looks at the roses blooming in the garden, at Gerda sitting beside him, at grandmother in her chair, at the familiar attic rooms with their familiar windows. He's home. He's safe. He's free from the Snow Queen's curse. But something in him is still standing on a frozen lake, moving ice pieces around, trying to solve an impossible puzzle. Gerda sees his expression, takes his hand. "You're thinking about her," she says. "Yes, she's still out there." "I know. The Snow Queen hasn't been defeated, hasn't been destroyed. She's still in her palace of ice, still in the far north, still waiting. For winter to come again, for more children to curse, for the next boy to kidnap and kiss into forgetfulness. The demon's mirror is still shattered. The shards still fall like invisible snow, landing in eyes and hearts across the world, changing people without them knowing, making them cruel without them realizing. The danger hasn't ended. It's never going to end. Kai and Gerda were lucky. They had each other. They had Gerda's devotion and Kai's survival and pure chance that brought them back together. But how many other Kais are sitting in ice palaces right now? How many other children are struck by shards and turning cold and losing themselves? How many Gerdas will walk across the world only to arrive too late? Only to find their friends already frozen beyond saving? "Do you think we'll ever be normal again?" Kai asks. Gerda is quiet for a long moment. "No," she says finally. "I don't think we will. I think we'll always carry this. always remember, always be marked by what happened. That's what I was afraid of. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe being marked means we can see things other people can't, recognize the cold when it's coming, help people who are being struck by shards. How? I don't know yet, but we survived something impossible. Maybe that means something. Maybe that gives us a purpose. Kai squeezes her hand. It's the warmest his hand has felt since before the shards struck him. Maybe Gerda is right. Maybe their suffering can become something useful. Maybe their scars can become their strength. Or maybe they'll just be two damaged children, forever haunted by ice and cold, and the memory of a frozen lake that reflects everything exactly as it is. Time will tell. The roses bloom in the garden. Summer fills the air with warmth and light and the promise of good things. But autumn is coming. And after autumn, winter. Winter always comes eventually. And in winter, the Snow Queen flies through the streets as snowflakes, peers through frosted windows, beckons to children with cold hands and colder promises. The story ends here, but the danger doesn't. It never does. Hans Christian Andersen was born in 1805 in Odense, Denmark. He died in 1875 in Copenhagen after a life spent writing fairy tales that generations of children would read, often in forms sanitized and simplified far beyond what he intended. The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, The Little Match Girl, Thumbelina, The Emperor's New Clothes, and The Snow Queen. Published in 1844, The Snow Queen is Andersen's longest fairy tale. It's not a simple story. It's 7 interconnected tales, elaborate and complex, meant to be published as a book rather than a short piece. And it's deeply personal. Andersen wrote The Snow Queen after a painful experience that shattered his heart. He'd fallen in love with a Swedish opera singer named Jenny Lind. The Swedish Nightingale, they called her. She was beautiful, talented, famous, and Andersen was an awkward, insecure writer who'd grown up poor and never quite fit anywhere. He declared his love to her. She rejected him, kindly, gently, but firmly. She didn't love him back. She couldn't. She didn't see him that way. Andersen was devastated. He felt his heart freeze, felt himself becoming cold and cynical, felt all the warmth drain out of him, replaced by bitterness and mockery, and the cruel satisfaction of seeing flaws in everything. The Snow Queen is about that transformation, about how disappointment and pain can change you, can make you cold, can make you cruel, can make you forget how to love. The demon's mirror represents cynicism, depression, the inability to see beauty or goodness anywhere. Everything filtered through negativity, through disappointment, through the conviction that caring about anything is foolish. This is what happens when you're hurt so badly you can't trust joy anymore. When you've been rejected or betrayed or broken so thoroughly that coldness feels safer than warmth. When mockery feels more honest than love. The mirror shatters. The shards fall. You can be struck without knowing. One day you're kind. The next day you're cruel. And you don't know why. You think you've finally woken up. Finally seen the truth. Finally stopped being naive. But actually, you've been cursed. Andersen understood this, lived it, felt it happening to himself after Jenny Lind rejected him. And The Snow Queen is his way of exploring that darkness, of asking, what happens when someone you love turns cold? What happens when you turn cold? What happens when warmth becomes pain and love becomes weakness and beauty becomes intolerable? The Snow Queen herself isn't evil in the traditional sense. She doesn't torture Kai, doesn't chain him up, doesn't make him suffer, not intentionally anyway. She just kisses him, makes him forget, makes him cold, and he sits there in her palace, working on his puzzle, thinking he's free, thinking he's finally seeing clearly, thinking he's finally escaped all the messy, painful, complicated emotions that make life difficult. He doesn't realize he's a prisoner, doesn't realize he's lost everything that made him human. That's the seduction of emotional numbness. It feels like relief. It feels like waking up from a nightmare. It feels like you finally figured out the truth. If you don't feel, you can't be hurt. But you also can't be happy, can't be warm, can't be alive in any meaningful sense. You become like Kai, technically alive, technically functioning, but hollow, empty. A person-shaped thing made of ice pretending to be human, ending to tar. Kai's corruption is subtle, gradual. He doesn't realize he's changing, doesn't notice that he's becoming cruel because the cruelty feels like honesty. The roses aren't beautiful. They're dying. Gerda isn't sweet. She's foolish. Love isn't real. It's weakness. These thoughts feel like clarity, feel like he's finally seeing the world without the soft, sentimental filter of childhood. But actually, he's seeing the world through a curse, through a shard of a demon's mirror, through a perspective that makes everything ugly, and he has no idea. That's the horror. You don't know you're infected. You think you've woken up. You think everyone else is living in a pleasant dream, and you're the only one seeing reality. But you're the one dreaming, a nightmare disguised as truth. Gerda's journey represents the opposite force: obsessive devotion, irrational loyalty, the refusal to give up even when giving up would be easier and perhaps wiser. She walks across the world for a boy who doesn't remember her, who might not love her back, who might be better off where he is. At least he's not suffering in that ice palace. He's not aware enough to suffer. Is this healthy? Is this love? Or is this self-destruction disguised as devotion? Andersen doesn't answer. He leaves the question open, because maybe both are true. Maybe Gerda's journey is beautiful and destructive. Maybe her love is powerful and obsessive. Maybe saving Kai is heroic and costs her something she can never recover. The witch's garden represents temptation. Stay here. Forget your pain. Forget your mission. Forget everything difficult and just be happy. It's comfortable, eternal summer, delicious food, no suffering, no struggle. Gerda almost succumbs, almost chooses comfortable forgetfulness, just like Kai did. The difference: Gerda remembers on her own. The roses break through the witch's spell and remind her of what she's lost, remind her of her purpose. Kai couldn't remember on his own. He needed Gerda to remember for him, needed her tears to melt the ice, needed her song to unlock his frozen memories. Some people can save themselves. Some people need to be saved. And some people, like the robber girl, need to see someone else's devotion before they can believe that caring about anything is possible. The robber girl is violent, cruel, dangerous. She's killed people and laughed about it. She tortures animals for fun. But she's moved by Gerda's journey, by watching this gentle, stupid girl walk through hell for a boy who doesn't even remember her. It changes her, makes her think that maybe there's more to life than stealing and hurting. She gives Gerda the reindeer, gives her the chance to continue, gives her the means to save Kai, and then she changes her own life, leaves the robbers, finds something worth fighting for that isn't just violence. Because sometimes all it takes is witnessing one act of irrational devotion, one person who believes in something impossible and makes it real. The journey north gets colder as Gerda approaches the Snow Queen's palace. This is deliberate. The closer you get to emotional numbness, the colder the world becomes. The more you embrace cynicism, the less warmth remains. The Lapland woman and Finnmark woman represent wisdom. They tell Gerda, you already have everything you need. Your love is your power. Your willingness to suffer is your strength. Your refusal to give up is your weapon. But is that true? Or is that just what we tell people who love too much? People who sacrifice too much? People who destroy themselves trying to save someone else? Andersen doesn't answer that either. The puzzle, the impossible puzzle that Kai works on forever, represents the futility of trying to think your way to transcendence. He's trying to spell eternity with pieces of ice, trying to solve his way to freedom, trying to use logic and reason and analysis to achieve something that can only be reached through feeling. You can't think your way to eternity. You can't reason your way to love. You can't solve human connection like a math problem. The puzzle solves itself when Kai stops trying, when he feels instead of thinks, when he cries instead of calculates, when he loves instead of analyzes. That's the message. Some things can't be solved. They can only be felt. The ending is ambiguous. Kai and Gerda return home. They're children at heart, but also grown-up persons. They've lost something: innocence, simplicity, the ability to just be happy without remembering the ice palace and the frozen lake and the year of suffering. Can they ever really be the children they were? Or are they forever marked by what happened? Andersen suggests they're marked, changed, different. They carry their scars. Kai's lingering coldness, Gerda's exhaustion, the knowledge that danger is still out there, still waiting, still falling like invisible snow. But maybe being marked isn't entirely bad. Maybe their scars give them wisdom, let them see things others can't, help them recognize cold when it's coming. Or maybe that's just what we tell ourselves to make suffering meaningful. Maybe sometimes suffering is just suffering, damage is just damage, and scars are just scars. Andersen doesn't tell us which interpretation is true. He leaves us with two children in a rose garden, together but changed, home but not quite home, safe but not quite safe, and winter always coming. Two children sit in a rose garden between their windows. It's summer. The roses are blooming. The sun is warm. Everything looks the same as it always did. But nothing is the same. Nothing can ever be the same. Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Snow Queen in 1844, almost 200 years ago. It's his longest, strangest, most psychologically complex fairy tale. 7 interconnected stories about a boy who's kidnapped by coldness and a girl who walks across the world to save him. It's not a simple story. It doesn't have easy answers. It doesn't offer comfortable resolutions. Kai is rescued, but is he healed? He's home, but he's haunted by what he did while cursed, by the cruelty he enjoyed, by the coldness he embraced. The shard is gone from his heart, but the memory remains. Does he ever fully recover, or is he forever marked by those months in the ice palace, forever carrying a coldness that won't completely melt? Gerda saved him, but what did it cost her? She gave up everything, her shoes, her safety, her innocence, a year of her life. She suffered constantly, nearly died multiple times. And for what? For a boy who forgot her, who might not love her the way she loves him, who might always be a little bit broken. Is this devotion beautiful? Or is it obsessive? Is this love? Or is this self-destruction? Andersen doesn't tell us. He leaves the question open, because maybe both are true. Maybe Gerda's journey is heroic and tragic. Maybe her love is powerful and destructive. Maybe saving Kai was worth it and cost too much. The Snow Queen is still out there, in her palace of ice in the far north, kissing children into forgetfulness, making them cold, making them forget love. The demon's mirror is still shattered. The shards still fall like invisible snow, landing in eyes that will see only ugliness, landing in hearts that will feel only coldness. How many people walking around right now have been struck and don't know it? How many people think they're seeing clearly for the first time when actually they've been cursed? The story warns us, be careful. Watch for the signs. Watch for the moment when beauty starts looking ugly, when kindness starts looking foolish, when love starts looking weak. That's the shard in your eye. That's the ice in your heart. And once you're struck, you won't realize it. You'll think everyone else has changed. You'll think you've woken up to harsh reality, when actually you've fallen into a nightmare and started calling it truth. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever loved someone who turned cold, or been cold yourself and didn't realize it, or walked through winter to save someone who didn't remember you, subscribe to the Midnight Archives. In the comments, tell me, do you think Kai and Gerda ever fully recovered, or are they forever marked by what happened? There's no right answer. Andersen made sure of that. The roses bloom in the garden. Summer is here, for now, but autumn is coming. And after autumn, winter. Winter always comes. The Snow Queen is still flying through the streets as snowflakes, still peering through frosted windows, still beckoning to children with her cold hands and colder promises. And somewhere, right now, in this moment, a mirror shatters. Billions of shards fall like deadly snow. Some land in eyes, some land in hearts, and people change without knowing why. They think they're finally seeing clearly, finally being honest, finally facing reality without sentiment. They don't realize they've been cursed. Welcome to the Midnight Archives, where even roses have thorns, and winter never really ends.